Hey guys, my name's Matt with Paisley Running Sandals, and I thought I'd do a video for you today. I've been getting a lot of questions about minimalist boots, and I've been a part of this Facebook group for several years now. And about a year ago, I started messing with the boots that were in my own closet, and I realized that I could rebuild the skills that I had from making my sandals transferred into making these boots and resoling them and turning them into minimalist boots. And a lot of you seem to be posting that you don't know how to do that, or you weren't aware that that was a possibility, or some of you are buying boots from overseas that are, of dubious quality. And you've got some of the best boots in the world here in the United States. You've got companies like Thurgood, Red Wing, Wolverine. These are all made in America boots that can be serviced and turned into minimalist boots by your local cobbler. And so I've become close with a lot of the cobblers and a lot of the supply shops where I get my sandal stuff. And it's kind of a dying breed, and these people need business, and you want different boots. So I thought that I would explain this to you guys. So a lot of you are kind of confused when I tell you what you need to do, but this is a traditional Red Wing boot with a traditional, pretty thick Christie Vibram sole that you've probably seen before. This is pretty standard for a lot of the mock toe boots and all those type of boots that you see for work boots. And a lot of you want minimalist boots, and so you don't want that thick tread on there, but you just don't know what to ask for. And so the simplest, easiest, and cheapest way is to take your work boot like this into your cobbler and tell them that you want the thick Vibram wedge Christie tread replaced with a thin zero drop type of a sheet tread. And this is an example of what you can do for that. So this is just a small piece of, it either comes in 5 or 8 millimeters traditionally, and that's a Vibram Lisk, they call it. And that's a pretty good compromise for zero drop, a thinness, but it's still kind of a work boot. That's the simplest, fastest way to do that. So you take this in, say I want this replaced with something like this, a sheet rubber, or at least a thin rubber. Okay, it comes in pre-cut pieces too for your cobbler. And what they'll do is they'll put it under a UV light, they heat it up, it releases the glue, they'll peel it off or use solvent, and then they can just re-glue the thinner stuff on top of it, or not on top of the midsole. And then they'll grind it, polish it up, and you're good to go. Another option, if your boots are kind of beat up and the welting isn't very good and you need to go beyond that, so the people were confused, you would ask for re-welting, remove the shank, midsole replacement, and then replace the thin tread. So those things seem to confuse people on the Facebook post that I was telling about. And then I realized most normal people don't know how to fix shoes and boots, and you're not aware of the anatomy of a typical boot. So I became aware of this just from trial and error. And if you're into this stuff, check out Brian the Bootmaker. This guy's amazing. He's in Los Angeles, and I've learned how to do this, frankly, by watching his video postings and then taking the boots apart myself and learning how to restitch them and glue them. So go to your local cobbler, you're a professional, but it is a possibility. Okay, so welting. This is a pair that I just redid myself by hand. This part that you see, that the white thread, that's leather welting. Okay, the welting, it's called a Goodyear welt, is attached to the midsole and the upper, all by sewing. Okay, sorry about that. You can see that's all hand sewn, and it gives you a really good idea at the leather welting where it attaches to the midsole. So you've got welting, midsole tread or soling. Okay, you can't see the the up here, the Goodyear welting. That's all behind that storm welting, and you can't see that. This is what storm welting looks like. You can see it's got a ridge on it. The underside is hand sewn. You take an awl and called saddle stitching, but that's going to be sewn onto the upper. So again, this is not something a normal person can do themselves. That's why you're going to take it to a cobbler. But you can see there the welting, the midsole, and the tread, or the soling. And this is what the midsole looks like. It's about 2 millimeters thick. I prefer, and I think most minimalists will prefer, rubber. This is Goodyear, Soltec, Vibram. They all have whatever your cobbler has. It also comes in leather, but the leather's a little bit thicker. I think most of you would prefer a midsole made out of rubber. Comes brown, white, black, of course, different colors. And then onto that, you would glue whatever tread that you would pick from the cobbler. And you can see that's going to be glued on. So that's an idea of a minimalist chukka boot from Red Wing. Took off that big, thick Christie sole. And this one's kind of cool. You can see all three of the things. You can see the welting, the white midsole, and then this is a Zagama tread that's pretty aggressive. That stuff's a little more expensive, but, gives you an idea. There's no heel. It's truly zero drop. And it allows you to take kind of a thick work boot that you normally wouldn't use for minimalist stuff, and then take it to a cobbler and resole it. Give the guys some work, right? I didn't mention, but Red Wing and most of the brands, Wolverine, Thurgood, all these brands, they have a steel shank in there. So the steel shank is kind of like a bridge, but minimalists don't want that. So if you were to tear this thing apart in here, there's going to be about a 1-inch piece of steel that goes across the underside of your arch, and that's the steel shank. And they're, of course, going to pull that out if you tell them to, and then they'll clean up all the debris, which is old cork, and then they'll re-welt it, and then they'll put midsole on there. They run it through a sewing machine that runs those stitches, and then they'll put whatever tread on there that you want. Okay, so again, it's just really to help you understand your options and to help the local cobbling community, and go support those cobblers. It's a dying breed and they need your help. Thanks.